What it stands for to be a member of ICoCA, this is what we can term as the gold standard in the security service providers to give to the market that you are compliant with the highest level of standard. And when it comes to operations in security, one of the key elements is the human rights, observance of the human rights in the course of conducting security operations. That is the main key item. We are the gatekeepers when it comes to upholding human rights to ensure that we are protecting the assets of the customers, and in so doing, we ensure that the liaison between the service provider, the customer, and the public upholds the utmost human rights standards, no violation whatsoever, and ensure that we are not in business not for only for profit, but also to sustain our operations. We are very keen in also sustaining the entire operation, and that is why the concept of environmental, social, and governance is coming into play, and that aspect of that social aspect is linked to the human rights violation. We are tracking that. We are reporting any issues that we come across. We are educating, creating awareness, not only to our officers, but all the partners that we are working together, including our customer and the public that is surrounding our operations. In 2018, we began a journey with one of the leading gold mine in Africa, and the largest in gold mine that they have in Tanzania, called Geita Gold Mine. Geita Gold Mine is one of the largest, and we have a huge contingent of personnel there, almost 700 people deployed in one location. But the location itself is so expansive. It spans almost a width of about 50 kilometers. So you might find operations are too wide to an extent that we may not have people meeting each other in the course of operations. So we have a complex operations there, which it's supposed to uphold also human rights in the course of conducting that. We are only one partner in the provision of the service, because there is an in-house set up operations that is led by the security manager there and his team to supervise the entire operations, and they have their own rapid response team. This is complemented by us with a huge contingent of personnel, which I've said is about 700. And the other layer that they have is the law enforcers, which is the Tanzania police. So they use several police officers posted in different posts, but the line of duty is completely demarcated, and each operator there knows exactly what they are supposed to do. There is another layer which they use the community provided security agents, which they liaise with the community to select people they know they are going to do a good job in terms of the patrolling and managing the relationship between the mine, the service provider they are, the police who are there, and the community. So that linkage also is bring the community together in an area that ideally should have been, giving space for conflict, but because of that, there is the harmony between the mining operations and the communities that surrounds it. We have succeeded a great deal, as also acknowledged by the management team there, and also the security manager, in terms of the statistics. What we pride ourselves in is in terms of upholding human rights in the course of conducting our operations, something which has brought together the community, the police, and us, and also the mine, and fostering the relationship to the benefit of all. So that is what we bring into the table in terms of operations from the principles that highlighted in ICoCA mandate, and also fostering the membership of ICoCA. The best thing that, the secret to our success in the preparation of the people, because once we've deployed the people, it's not enough. How to prepare, to reiterate, the human rights, the PRR that we reiterate, the working with the Their IDs always have, the human rights component, the 14 principles that are there as well, to be reminding them. And in all the parades, we reiterate the same prior to the deployment and the debrief thereafter, so that at least the human rights component, they are right on their fingertips on what to do's and not to do's in terms of how to handle the people and anybody that is really coming into the mine, including handling their colleagues, they're working together. So we inculcate this to a point that, even if you wake them in the middle of the night, they will tell you this is right or wrong in terms of the human rights perspective. And the way that the mannerism, you will see there's a difference between an officer employed by SGA and any other officer, because we spend a lot of time and effort in trying to give them refresher training on a daily basis. Engagement with all the stakeholders, understanding each other. We are not working alone, because security is all encompassing. You can never, succeed if you work alone. So bringing on all the stakeholders, engaging and understanding on how we move together, but preempting and getting information beforehand or what is about to happen, acting on that information, and then following thereafter on the root cause to see that, you actually stop it, from possible, happening in the future. The main stakeholders when it comes to security in the mine is, first of all, the staff of the mine, led by the security department. That is the key in creating the policies, ensuring that everybody is aware of the policies. From there, we go into the implementation. Implementation bit is that the mine itself has security officers employed directly by the mine. Secondly, the outsourced service provider, which is SGA. And then thirdly, we have the police, who are also deployed and given specific tasks and the areas of concern. And then the fourth is the community provided security officers, who are also deployed to the mine. They have their own scope and the areas where they are guarding. So all those people, the stakeholders that I'm referring to, is now, the unit that really work together to ensure that, first of all, we prevent the intrusion. But should the intrusion occur, how are we going to handle it? And then we now work on, if it has already happened, how can we stop it and then recover from it? And then now we follow up to see what was the root cause, where did we fail, where were the loopholes, so that at least, in future, we learn the lessons and then preempt, from recurring. That has always succeeded very well. Incident management is at a top notch. We are learning as we progress. And then as, all the units have been told, this is where there were some gaps, fill in these gaps, and then we see now going forward. So that lesson learning and the monitoring and evaluation of our performance, encompassing all the stakeholders, is what we have succeeded big time. When you receive an intruder that is coming in, first of all, there is a rapid response unit, because your presence on the ground is to watch and ensure that, you actually raise an alarm if there is sort of an intrusion, because you don't know how strong they are, how prepared they are. You are also there. Even though some you may be having firearms, it's actually for defensive, not, combat. So you really need to raise an alarm for support team with the rapid response unit to really come. And then also the police, in case of an arrest, we let the law enforcement that is mandated to use force to take over from there. But as it's a defensive, and then watch and then raise the alarm. So that is an aspect that is handled very well. And also, when you're using also, the use of force continuum is really focused on. Yeah, so when you see this is unarmed guy, then you see how you are going to handle. This is armed to what level, you also see what you're doing. And then you see now, if they are having guns, which is very rare, then, you can also use, the police to respond to that sort of threat. The most challenging issues when you're handling this is that, first of all, we are dealing with people. We are employing about, Geita Gold Mine, about 700 people. When you have people, you really have to be prepared for anything, because everyone is thinking in their own. So possible collusion with outsiders, possible non-compliance with your own policy. So you have to really be having a mechanism to ensure that, there is 100% compliance. The motivation can be different. They can easily drop ball, by pure negligence, but also, by intentionally doing so to commit, a felony. So you really have to have mechanisms in place to ensure that, you're preventing that. And also, if it happens, how are you going to handle your internal risks? But of course, by meeting there in the mine, we have a lot of people working in the mine, other subcontractors not related to security. That is also another source of threat. And how you are handling those people when you're egress, and access, when you're controlling that, you really need to observe the human rights, and especially checking the alcohol content, searching if they have anything. You really need to observe. So we mix in terms of observing that we are really compliant with what is needed. We have cameras all over the place, or in case somebody complains that I was inappropriately searched and I was mishandled in this particular manner, at least, there is going to be evidence to that. But also we have mechanisms there. A senior person is there to observe what is really going on. As the security officers are conducting their operations, there is an oversight there. And then to step in if there is a difficult person, is not cooperative in one way or the other, because searching has to be done. That is we are guarding gold. Yeah, any small ounces that can disappear, there's millions that is going to also cause economic sabotage. So we only have to protect the assets, but of course the economy of the nation at large. So that challenge is there. If there's possible corruption then we have to see that we minimize the chances that our officers will be corrupted by having the mechanisms of trying. Sometimes we try penetration test to see that the controls that we have are still working, and if they are not working, then we put in the mechanisms to really back to track. So it's quite a lot. A penetration test is a trial to see you have control mechanism that you put in place to prevent hazard from occurring, or of any kind, either the non-compliance with the human rights principle, or mishandling of the intruder, or loss of assets. You have control mechanisms, but you need to be assured that the controls in place will still be giving you the desired result. So you have to intentionally create, a penetration to see if these want to control themselves. You can send somebody to sort of say, go and try to fight those guys, and then see how they are going to respond. And then if they respond well, and then you come and tell them, guys, it was a trial, and then you can also send somebody who is drunk, and then, drink intentionally, go and try to get access there, and then you see how they are going. Then if they want to take you back, really cause a scene, and then try to see how they are going to react. So monitor and see how it is, and then you can come and correct and say, this guy is in his right senses, 100%. We were trying to see how you're going to react in a situation like that, so that at least we know that. And then lessons learned, this is what needs to be done. But sometimes also we can, if it is about, collusion to take away stuff without, approval of the mine, we can put in the vehicle, and then we say, okay, we report to the other stakeholders that, guys, we want to try this to see if we can exit the gate without, being detected. And then we see. So we put in their stuff, and then we say, we watch what they are going to handle. If they will detect, yes. And then after detection, what happens? Or even if you are detected, try to bribe them. They say, guys, I'll give you this, and then we can see if they play along. Whatever it is after getting or exiting is when you come back and say, guys, this was a test, and this is where we found you. If they do well and they stop it, you commend all of them, and then use it as a lesson for the rest. So those are the penetration tests that we use in it to ensure that the controls are there. After doing all that, you're supposed to do another one as a follow-up to see now that if people are acting in a particular way, until when you are sure that the controls that you have are in place. Despite the achievements that we've had in the place, the success stories, we are always looking to improve continuously. So we're looking for gaps. We are doing self-audits to ensure that, if there is need to fill a gap on a particular area, we do that. The key area of concern is continuous training, because as I said, you can prepare people adequately prior to deployment. They do a job, they forget everything because nothing is happening. What we were prepared to handle is not about to happen. Like we are being told now, there is going to be El Nino rains. You are ready, and then you wait 2-3 months, it's not happening, and then you lax, and then you wait, and then El Nino happen, and then you find that you even forgot what you're supposed to do. So that continuous training is it requires budget, it requires also time, because we are walking circle. We really don't have sufficient time to really sit and review quite a number of things. So setting aside getting a budget for that training, it's something that we really need to also focus on. But we're determined to do so as well, and ensure that all the controls are working in place to continuously self-audit in all the areas, and also risk management. We need to continuously assess the risks that we are sitting on, in potential areas. The mine is expansive. As you will see when you visit the ground, it is huge. I think from one end to the next is about 50 kilometers. There are a lot of activities that are going on there. So to do a complete, risk assessment, it has to be specific to the task that we have. So there has to be a contingent of a team that is working, just to see that the controls are in place and continue. By and large, I think, there's huge success in that, but it's a work in progress, and that is why we can never afford to drop ball. It's a snowball. The more you succeed, the more you want more, and then, the ball is rolling. SGA is not working alone. The cooperation, the key stakeholder there is the public security. We fall under the police, Tanzanian police force. There, in terms of the curriculum that we use in training, of course, there is no accepted curriculum across, for private security companies, but we create our own, and we ensure that there are some components that, we get from the instructors from the police, especially the use of force, the prevention of, crime, and the securing of the scene of crime, and the reporting mechanism. If there is an incident, how is the incident supposed to be handled together with the police? So that particular aspect, and especially the human rights component, that particular aspect, police instructors are coming to join us in training our team, and we use the same before deployment and on the refresher training that is continuous. That is really helping us in terms of aligning the team to the standards that is acceptable to all of them. Of course, we borrow quite a lot from ICoCA in terms of the human rights training component, and that is a requirement of ISO 18788 as well. So when incidents happen on the ground, there is always a requirement to report to the police. They do investigation jointly with us as well, and if there is need to take action in terms of law enforcement, then it is the police that are going to help us. We also do background checks. Background checks also is not only criminal checks, but also human rights abuses where they are. So we do get support a lot from the law enforcement, that is the police, to ensure that, what was not even reported gets to the fore. So there's quite a lot in the Department of HR about the background checks and vetting. And when we visit somewhere, we use not only the police, but we have the local government agencies which go all to the village level, where we ask, about the track record of the person, but we also follow where the person was working and the real reason why they left, because you find that, people are just discharged from duties, and then there's nobody who writes. You're given a clean certificate of service, and nobody says anything else. So if you go there and find out exactly what really had transpired, is when you can unearth some of the things. We put a clause in the contract that should anything come to the fore that is undesirable about the record, then we retain a right to take action against you, and also revoke this contract of employment at any stage. So compliance is top key, and background checks, full disclosure and commitment to the code of conduct is key, including the past in contact. At the end of all the issues that we have handled, the training, the certifications that we have, what the message that we have for our team is that, it's all about sustainability, the ESG component, the social component. So which at the end of the day, our business is not all about money. It's all about the people as well. In the conduct of our operations, we need to sustain and ensure that we respect each and every person who comes to the premises while we are conducting our operations, and we have to conduct ourselves in the utmost, behavior that will respect everybody that we come across. So that particular respect is what we are trying to reiterate with all the principles that we are trying to inculcate in them. So we can spend a lot of time explaining, but at the end of the day, use your own judgment. Again, have I respected this person in the manner that is anticipated in all the spirit of the codes of conduct that we have? So that is what we want our officers to self-assess and ensure that they're interpreting it correctly and then applying it on the ground.